formulated instantly on the spot in such a way that matches the target language receptor's expectations. So interpreting, can we say, before that, previous, yes? You know, interpreting consists of presenting in the target language the exact meaning of what is uttered in the source language either simultaneously or consecutively, preserving the speaker's tone in this regard. Now, a demanding profession like interpreting actually entails, you know, mental processes. These mental processes are represented as the following. Listening, and by listening we mean, you know, the audio perception of the speech sounds, the arrangements of the flow of ideas of the speaker's tone in this particular context. And by analysis we mean the recognition of the structural patterns utilized by the speakers in his source language discourse, as well as semantic or pragmatic aspects should be taken into account. Decision making of you know, how to choose on the appropriate equivalent in this respect. And finally, verbalization reproducing a target language utterance in compliance with the source language one. One of the major concepts, one of the vital concepts that the students are supposed to get acquainted with is the concept of anticipation. Anticipation is the interpreter's ability to construct expectations, depends on his or her linguistic or extra-linguistic determinants. In the next slide, we will see much more elaboration of this concept. Linguistic and extra-linguistic. By linguistic we mean, you know, the phonetic, grammatical, and semantic background knowledge of the interpreter. And the extra-linguistic, you know, we mean, for example, the situation, knowledge of the conference, you know, situation, and knowledge of the subject. Knowing the topic, you know, the idiomatic expressions, the phrasal verbs, the abbreviations, the acronyms utilized in the source language discourse. And finally, the speaker, the probability of the speaker's reaction in a particular context. So, bottom of the line, we can say that more anticipation leads to reduction of the amount of uncertainty in the interpreter's mind. And finally, it would consequently, you know, lead to cognitive relief. Back again to the question raised at the beginning of this seminar. Interpreters are made, not born. Herbert and McIntosh in 1999 both argue that the professional interpreters are made, not born. A stance which highlights the fact of the importance of a training for interpreters. Okay. In training interpreters as elsewhere in a higher education setting, the aim is to prepare, you know, practitioners. Practitioners for what? For student, for future professional employment. So, in the light of this statement, I would like to raise the question again. What are the department's objectives in this respect? What are the objectives and goals of the translation, of the Department of Translation regarding this issue? Next slide, please. We should focus on the quality of interpreting, which means making sense, which is one of the most important criteria for judging the success of interpretation in a given situation. To become an expert, we should all remember that you should go through a learning cycle, and interpreters are no exception at all. Many believe that interpreting, which is a set of specialized skills, for example, you know, should be taught only by experts. We, for example, you know, the faculty members, we know everything about, you know, the theoretical aspects, the framework, you know, the format, the profile, about what consecutive and simultaneous interpreting mean. But unfortunately, none of us has received, not to say professional training, but to say primitive training regarding simultaneous and consecutive interpreting. So, for example, the AIIC, previous slide please, the AIIC Training Committee, the AIIC Association of International Interpreters, should be taught that both consecutive and simultaneous interpreting should be taught by practitioner interpreters. Why? Because they will not only provide you with the, you know, with the concept, what the concept of consecutive and simultaneous interpreting mean, but with the know-how, which is something that you can get from the books. Okay? The next slide. Let us all remember again, the practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. And as I have mentioned previously, a unfortunately, in this seminar, I'm not trying to assess the students' performance only, but the faculty members, performance as well. Because as I have mentioned, none of us has received any training. None of us has, ever been in a real-life situation, real-life interpreting situation before. Okay? So, we can come to the suggestions and remarks. Teaching interpreter requires a skilled and trained interpreter teacher. Not only teachers, because we know everything in the book about simultaneous and consecutive, but training, what should come in the first place. Second, there is a growing need to clearly illustrate departmental goals and objectives of teaching such subjects, because I believe that there is a huge concentration on literary translation, but there is no such concentration on oral translation like simultaneous and consecutive, and even sighted translation. Third, more emphasis on specialty in this field is indispensable. I think the time has come, for students to be specialized, starting from the second grade. Those who are interested with literary translation can go on with learning literary translation for the rest of the 3 academic years. And those who are interested with simultaneous and consecutive can do this for the next, 3 academic years. A clear-cut, well-defined curriculum is a must. Why? Because, those who are entrusted with teaching both simultaneous and consecutive usually, improvise. There is no specific curriculum for teaching consecutive and simultaneous interpreting. And finally, real-life interpreting and training situations are of great significance for enhancing students' performance, and I can suggest that we can get the utmost benefit from the both DVC facility halls available on campus. One of them is located at the Computer Center, and the other one is located in the International Corner. So we can hold lectures like like students can attend lectures, real-life interpreting situations, like what is happening now, where there's lectures are delivered from Pelican University for students at the Political Sciences College. Thank you so much for your, listening. Thank you.